Twain was one of America's most famous authors, raconteurs, speakers, comedians. Traveled, lived between 1840 and 1920 in that period. In the 1870s and 80s, he used to travel around Europe and give talks in front of large audiences. And one of the items that he frequently mentioned was telling the Europeans about his favorite American foods. So I was going to bring this to your table, as it were, and let you digest this. His first favorite food was the prairie chicken. Now, in the 1840s, the prairie chicken abounded over the Midwest and into Kansas and the Dakotas. It thrived on the American way that the grain was, that the ground was tilled, and it produced the seeds. There were 26 million of these prairie chickens in Missouri and Kansas alone. They were everywhere. They sat on the wires of the telegraph and broke them. They were big, fat things. I would call them a grouse, but he called them a prairie chicken. So if you have a chance, they're almost extinct now, but they're around. Number two, the second food that he really liked was the raccoon. Now the raccoon, was about that long and has a fiery sort of a personality. And it turned out that if you cut it open and took out the fat and just concentrated on the meat, it wasn't what you call tasty, but it was very different. And Mark Twain liked raccoon. Now the third thing that Mark Twain liked was American trout. In the rivers swam trout. And he loved trout almondine, which is trout sauteed with almonds and lemon and put in a pan and lightly cooked till they were a nice grilled color. Absolutely delicious. Almond trout. Try it. I'm sure that it's still available at Spring, especially here, if you want to try it. Okay, number four. The fourth thing that he really liked was oysters. He absolutely loved oysters. He loved them shucked half open, fried, baked. I don't know about boiled, but any way that he could eat an oyster, and his favorite place to eat them was in San Francisco. It turned out that the oysters in the San Francisco Bay in the 1860s and 70s when he was out there were absolutely delicious, and he would just gorge on oysters to the point where he almost had to throw up the next morning. I mean, sometimes he would tend to overeat. But oysters. And the fifth thing that he liked was the American cranberry found in New England. So we've all eaten cranberry around Thanksgiving. I think that's probably when it comes to fruition and can be picked. But it's not only grown in New England and Cape Cod especially, but also in Wisconsin and North Dakota. So the American cranberry, which the Europeans had never seen, they would only hear about it from him, was a wonderful part of what he enjoyed. And the sixth thing was the horned, let me just see. The sixth thing was, sheep's head fish, which he ate in New Orleans. A sheep's head fish is a fish, it's about 29 inches long or so. It has teeth like a human being, and it has antlers sticking out of it. It's the scariest looking thing you've ever seen. And most people try to stay away from sheep's head fish, but he loved it. And he would eat it at restaurants in New Orleans. That's where it was cooked well and cooked to his satisfaction. So they're still around. Maybe some of you have caught them and eaten them. And the final thing on this little list, number 7, was, yes, every fall the maple trees in the Northeast and elsewhere would drain, and as the water came out, it would have a taste of maple syrup. You could distill it. 40 gallons of the water that seeped out could be distilled into 1 gallon of maple syrup, which had an unbelievably great taste. And so American maple syrup is definitely his 7th and one of his finest choices. So there you have it. We want you to be happy and well. We want you to eat. And as Mark Twain would say, part of the secret of success in life is to eat what you want and let it fight its way out inside you.